a lot of these people really could afford to retire if they just did a little soul searching and realized, like, you know what? I don't need this multi-million dollar CEO job, and it doesn't really fill my soul very much. So, like, let's just do something else.
How much of that do you think is people moving the goalpost? That maybe when they are early in their life, they think if I had $100,000, everything would be, I'd be set. And then they get to 100,000 and they think, okay, if I had 1 million, and then if I had 2 million, like it's just a constant chain that you are able to fight that goalpost. But for other people, it's just a never ending hamster wheel.
Yeah, it happens a lot. And that's actually a big part of what I do as a writer and in person, as I kind of counsel people to stop moving the goalpost and say, like, all right, you can quit, you should quit. And we used to have these annual retreats to Ecuador for about 25 blog readers. And there would always be one or two people who, after talking through their numbers with each other and with us as the host to that event, they would like announce at dinner, like, okay, I just want to announce that I sent an email and I quit my job and I'm going to retire like as soon as I get back to the United States. And everyone's like, yay! It's sort of like a Alcoholics Anonymous situation, except more of a Successaholics Anonymous. And people realize, because when you're in that position, you're surrounded by other people in that position. So they think it's normal. They think it's normal that you just keep going up and up in your career to the expense of almost everything else. Like maybe you play squash or maybe you collect fancy cars or something, but really it's a very one-dimensional life. And yeah, I think it's a really good idea to question yourself and say, I'm not going to go further, and I'm going to challenge myself in other areas as well.
Where do you think that, so you just talked about how you created something where you could give people the space to make that decision. Did someone do that for you, or was it, I know you've written about how part of it is just kind of how you were raised. Were there any other influences in there?
I don't think so. I'm strange in that I'm kind of in my own little world, and that's maybe why my blog and my writing has struck a chord, because people are like, whoa, this is strange. This guy does not talk like other people that I've previously read about. So yeah, to me, it was just a logical thing. I just thought, well, I'm making more money than I'm spending. So what's a logical thing to do with surplus money? And then I realized, well, I noticed my weekends could be a little longer. Perhaps we could optimize out the workday part of our lives. So I just kind of read up on how much you need to retire, or I just kind of calculated it based on the regular stock market expected returns, and then just quit. And so it was a rush for me. I mean, I wanted to do it as soon as possible. No one had to push me to say, like, you're ready to retire. If anything, I did it sooner than most people would have counseled me to do. But yeah, most people do the opposite. They wait till they have like $3 or $4 million, and they're like still thinking they have to pad it a little bit more. And it's pretty much never the case.
You know, just on that point real quick, one of the things I've learned from you is that just because you retire, and I think we almost need to do away with that word, but whatever word we choose, yeah, is that it's not like that has to be the end of your earning potential. So if you get to a point where you've got enough to support like 75% of your minimum income needs, you're probably going to figure out how to get that other 25 and have a lot more freedom. And that's something that I really appreciate that you put out there, because I think a lot of people think of it very black and white. And you're like, look, it's not like your life ends when you quit this corporate job. There are other things that you can do, and some of it you get paid for and some of it you don't. And you'd be surprised how things unfold.
Yeah, and by the time you get to that 75% funded level, what that really means is that you have like 15 or 20 years of living expenses saved up. So you have a 20-year headway. If you realize the plan isn't working out, you still have 20 years to think about it before you ran out of money. Like, I often joke, like, well, if this didn't work out, I could go back to school, get a medical degree, become a doctor, and then have a full-on doctor job with high salary before I ran out of my previous savings. So just as one silly example that I wouldn't actually want to do. And then now that would not happen, because I have like multiplied my savings even more since then, just through like good luck and more, not expanding the lifestyle. But yeah, it's true. Think that income is a possibility. And also, when people are getting ready to consider financial independence, you should also never look at your spending level as fixed. People all think this is my expenses. And instead, I encourage them to use the word, these are my spending choices. Because you could spend any amount of money, including zero if you're resourceful enough. You could have a luxurious life on zero spending if you have good enough friendships, and let's say you like do house sitting for people and barter everything, and or people just like you and they give you money. Like, it's not really, doesn't happen often, but that's hypothetically possible. So you take that extreme and then you take the opposite extreme of like, I need $20 million to live, and you can choose where you want to be on that spectrum.